USA Hockey and the Michigan Amateur Hockey Association have offered the following guidelines for officiating during the COVID-19 pandemic. All USA Hockey participants should follow social distancing norms, washing and sanitizing hands regularly. Officials will be required to wear a face covering at all times when taking part in a game scheduled by the Kalamazoo Ice Hockey Officials Association. Coaches, bench personnel, players, and off-ice officials also must wear masks at all times. If you have any symptoms at all, please stay home. For a list of the current symptoms, go online to the Centers for Disease Control or CDC website. Registration fees for USA Hockey will not be refunded for any cancellation or partial shutdown of the season. All USA Hockey games, until further notice, will use a 2-official system. No 3-official or 4-official systems will be utilized, as USA Hockey is trying to minimize the number of people on the ice. You will be required to wear a face covering at all times, while on the ice, while in the dressing room, and while anywhere else in the rink. A full plastic shield with the splash guard is not an acceptable substitute. You will need a proper facial covering over your nose and mouth at all times. Electronic whistles will be provided by KIHOA. There will be a couple available at each rink, and they are to be left there after your games are done, because clearly blowing a traditional whistle is not going to work with a mask on. Players, coaches, bench personnel, off-ice officials, everybody will be required to wear a face covering at all times, properly worn, covering mouth and nose. Players will be sent back to the locker room if they come on the ice or the bench without their facial covering or not properly worn. If that happens, if players enter on-ice competition, they will be assessed a penalty. So make sure in your socially distanced pregame talk with coaches, you remind them that facial coverings need to be properly worn at all times. In the dressing room, please make sure you're social distancing as best you can. If the room is too small to do that with the entire crew, the crew coming off the ice should wait until the crew going out onto the ice has left before they use the dressing room. So just be aware of spacing, use good crew coordination and communication to make it all work. USA Hockey does not recommend wearing latex gloves at all on the ice unless you're going to change them after every face-off, which clearly is just impractical and not feasible. So the latex gloves actually help spread the virus a little bit faster, especially if you're using the same pair to touch many things. Go barehanded, but sanitize your hands often, and make sure you're not touching your face at all during the game. Electronic whistles are to be used for the interim because we're all wearing face coverings. So again, we'll provide a couple at each rink for officials to use. Feel free to go online. You can find them at a few different places online. You can buy electronic whistles of your own just to have it. It might be worth the investment. Otherwise, we will have them available for you. Please make sure if you use one of the associations at the rink that you sanitize that before you leave. After you've used it and you replace it, make sure you sanitize it. Hockey is going to be different for a while. There's no way to get around it. No pregame or postgame handshakes are to be allowed. In your pregame chat with the coaches, just mention that. They'll understand it, I'm sure, social distancing being what it is. Also, please make sure the captains and coaches understand before the game that they are to maintain social distance too, not just from you and each other, but also from their opponents as best. Clearly, it's hard to do. It's hockey, right? It's a physical sport. But after whistles, between plays, between periods, maintain good social distancing. If there is an altercation, be as loud as you can be from as far away as you can do it. Stay out as long as possible. If you have to go in and physically separate players, do it quickly with the least amount of contact. That's really the motto, the bottom line here is minimize close contact with players at all costs. If there is an altercation you need to break up physically, do so quickly and efficiently, get players out, and then immediately start disinfecting your hands at the scorer's bench. This has been a topic of conversation for some months now. Spitting, gross to be certain. We all do it to some extent on the ice. We are not to be the spit police. If you believe a player or coach has spit at you or purposely exposing you to droplets from a player or coach, it's a match penalty. If it's just a player spitting on the ice from the bench or that kind of thing, maybe mention it, but there's nothing we can do. Again, no post-game handshakes, no pre-game handshakes. We understand and appreciate the act of sportsmanship, but there are other alternatives that can be used if coaches and players want to get creative and are really have that kind of energy to be good sportsmen. There's a way to do it. Also, as officials, make sure you are not handshaking or fist bumping any players or coaches before or after the game. A simple wave of the hand, acknowledge them, that's plenty. But keep your hands as clean as possible. Have your mask on when you get to the rink. Have your mask on when you're in the dressing room. Social distance in the dressing room. Wear your mask on the ice at all times. And wear your mask when you leave. Really, those are the bottom lines here. If you do get an electronic whistle, or if you get it, but you use one of the associations in the room, play with it a little bit. Make sure you understand how it works and how it's going to fit into your game. Again, maintain that 6-foot separation. No pregame huddles or chants if you can avoid it. High five your partner from 6 feet away. It looks funny, but people get the idea. And make sure you're discussing some of these guidelines with the coaches before the game as well. This is what we know as of September 2020. There are pretty good odds that these things will change over the season. So check back. USAHockey.com will have updated COVID guidelines as things change. On their website, again, USAHockey.com. Check there frequently. Or get a hold of one of the leaders in your organization, in KIHOA or in MAHA, and we'll be able to help as well with what we know. Good luck and stay healthy.